Yep, I'm muted. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is the April meeting of the Manhattan Community Board 2 Executive Committee. I'm Valerie Della Rosa, the chair of the board. We have a quorum, and I'd like to welcome our new assistant secretary, DJ Jane. Welcome, and also recognize our former assistant secretary, Brian Pape, who's here.
All right, Brian.
Congratulations to everyone who is was also reelected. So with that, do we have an approval for the March 2026 Executive Committee minutes?
I approve them.
Okay, so we have a first, do we have a second?
Second.
Great, so Janine and Will. Now we'll go to the chair's report.
Okay.
So I wanted to quickly start us off with board chairs and district managers in Manhattan were briefed by the Manhattan Borough President's office early last week and about the application process. Borough President Hoylman Siegel is they've convened around 40 plus organizations, nonprofits to be part of an independent review process of applications. So they will be blind reading applications and assigning a score. Sorry, something came up. So that's new. There were a lot of questions about that. This is, I think, very similar to what former Borough President Scott Stringer had done. And so we've been briefed on that both independently and also at Borough Board. So some quick statistics. CB2 received 66 applications. I believe we have 7 spots.
Is it 66 for the new 7 or 66 counting
Total?
Total. So counting the people reapplying.
Yes.
Counting the people reapplying?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And yes, so hopefully we will hear something tomorrow. We were told that the interviews for those board members that are, for anyone who's reapplying or new applicants, that they will be doing the interview process, which will also, this is different, will also include those independent reviewers also watching that interview process, a very similar to the group dynamic type of thing. But again, the decision really is, it's not just being handed off to a third party. The Borough President's office is still very much a big part of that. So if there's any questions on that. Really quickly, I want to go over, we're really trying not to have committee start times earlier than 6:30. I hear feedback from the public. It gets confusing. There's times that have to be changed on a bunch of different items. So we could, if there's something or an extenuating circumstance, like let's have a conversation. But there were times when Landmarks was meeting at 5:30, and so we kind of cut that. So we're really trying to have a consistent 6:30 p.m. start time. It's really hard for people that are working either from the public or from the board to make those meetings. So if we could, again, if there's a double up situation and we have a conversation, but let's just trying to be consistent across the board, because we have stopped having Landmarks have a 5:30 start time intermittently. It gets confusing and people tend to not, they miss, or they didn't realize they missed an hour of a meeting. Other than that, I think that's all that I have for my chair's report this month. Okay. Mark? Oh, the treasurer's report. Excuse me. Hi. You want to come up here by the microphone, or maybe you want to?
Well, I don't know why I'm up on deck on your agenda, but I sent Mark the report just a couple hours ago. The only thing is just regular updates for the expenses. The budget for equipment is just slightly over a bit because in January, recently purchased some new monitors and computers from Dell. Other than that, we're pretty much on track. I guess we'll add in the expenses later for professional services for the workshop that we're doing next month.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's all I have. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, great. Mark, we're ready.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just to tag on to the treasurer's report, we do have that fund of previous street fairs and for a while, council member funds went into that 700 line, which rolls over year to year. This year and last year, the council member funds did not roll over year to year, so we have to spend them, but it looks like we're not gonna have trouble doing that. A couple of updates on something that we started to talk about last month, the World Cup. And you may remember that the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce, not the Chelsea one, has something called the Summer of Opportunity list of ways in which businesses to capitalize, especially small businesses to capitalize on these opportunities presented by this. You may have seen that the governor, in effect, preempted the SLA chair who approached CBs 1, 2, and 3 about ways in which to use outdoor space and the one-day permits to boost businesses for hospitality. And there was going to be conversation about how our boards, which would be, of course, among the most frequently used in this, how they would react to this and take advantage of this. But the governor's now announced it, so it's going to remain to be seen whether there's effective input in how that should all roll out. But that's coming one way or another. I wanted to brief you on the latest on the Village Interagency Task Force. As I mentioned previously, it was coordinated under an office of the mayor that no longer exists. And so we've been struggling to try to keep it alive. The part that deals with mental health, drug use, and law enforcement is continuing. The part that dealt with, I call it potholes, the part that dealt with service that requires the cooperation of 2 or more agencies, those agencies participated in a meaningful way because the mayor's office made them. Without the mayor's office requiring that, we end up with trying to pull things together. So I am trying to use my district service cabinet to pull together a list of constituent needs, some of which we can handle just as a community board handles them. A 311 complaint that goes to one agency, we'll deal with that internally. Those that require more than one agency, we will involve the Village Interagency Task Force. And the task force is going to be another means for those complaints to find their way to us. Of course, we're still recommending that they file either 311 or 911, and where relevant, also the SLA complaint line, so that the data collection doesn't suffer from this second opportunity to get in there. And I would be remiss if I didn't express gratitude to the New York County District Attorney's Office, who, without the support of the mayor's office, is continuing to try to keep this alive and moving in some meaningful forward way.
What's the channel that complaints are coming through?
So 311 is the way in which most complaints come to me, come to this office.
Not from 311, but as in a constituent reaches out to you with a service request number. Is that correct?
It goes both ways. Sometimes 311 will send stuff to us that really belongs at an agency. And an example was that somebody had those containers for trash, the containerized trash, and it didn't fit next to their building. So they asked for permission to put them next to a tree bed. And 311 told them, you need the community board's permission. And if I had the launch codes, I would be, a lucky guy, but I don't. So I eventually just routed it back to, we have a superintendent for this area for the Department of Sanitation. That's where that complaint belongs. So it's both ways. Sometimes it comes to us through an agency. Sometimes it comes to us in lieu of an agency, and we deal with it both ways.
And I have a question. So when it comes to you in lieu of an agency, do you also follow 311 to document it?
No, I asked them to file the 311.
got it.
The community board shouldn't and can't.
Because they're government, you basically file.
Well, A, we're government, and B, as I said,
Yes.
oftentimes it comes to us, so I'll be just sending the complaint
Yes,
myself.
and then when somebody files a 311, what's the time approximately when they file 311 and it comes to you, whether you're supposed to deal with it or not?
It's pretty quick.
Oh, okay, just
It's pretty
curious.
quick, yeah. Yes.
One final question. You mentioned a committee that you're collaborating with, like, you said district something. Committee?
So by charter, the district
Yeah.
manager runs something called the District Service Cabinet, or
Thank you.
DSC.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
Okay,
And that's by invitation, so it doesn't
Okay.
require a quorum, therefore it can be on Zoom, and it usually is, although I go to the farmer's market and bring baked goods just as a bribe, but every now and again, the guy from Con Ed will come, but other than that, no. And that's the second Thursday of the month, at 10 o'clock in the morning.
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wanted to have a brief mention of counterfeit vending. There are two kinds. There's the counterfeit vending, which is the Prada bag that costs $20, caveat emptor. And then there's the kind of vending that is like the Annie's truck that parks where it shouldn't park on Broadway in Soho. And it is incredibly frustrating because before you can finish the arrest, someone fills the vacuum on Canal Street and is selling the same counterfeit bags, maybe Louis Vuitton instead of Gucci. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all the same because it's whatever's in style this year.
Okay, good news. The Airtable project is nearing completion. There was a backlog that we went back to 2013. But because it took so long to first figure out Airtable and then to start doing the backlog, and by backlog, I mean, it was our practice here at CB2 forever to have resolutions bundled. So there'd be one document with, say, 20 SLA resolutions or 10 landmarks resolutions as one document. So they had to be separated into separate documents so that you could search them individually. And Beta NYC helped us unbundle them, but they still had to be renamed. The renaming process from 2013 to 2023 is now complete, but because it took us a little while to get to this stage, we also want to unbundle 2024 and 2025, and we're about halfway with that. After that, the next step is to get Beta NYC to come in and work with us on how to put this onto our website as an alternative way to search for documents. We're not going to get rid of the old one right away. In fact, we may never get rid of the old or the current
Well,
system.
the old one works, but people just not are comfortable with
It
it.
works for some people and some people have trouble with it. We hope that between one or the other, everybody will get what they need. Okay, word package is tomorrow, so please think of us when you're.
What resolutions are we missing?
I think I'm missing a report from Parks. I don't think there's no resolution. I'll get back to you on that.
They were not gonna.
I have street.
And no, but the Parks was gonna have a resolution on the AIDS Memorial public installation.
Is it a?
Yeah, we have one.
Okay, then.
No, I thought I sent it. I finished it 2 weeks ago. I'll send it again.
Hold on. You did? Okay, I'll look for it. I'm sure I have it. Okay, and we have landmarks, but it's on hold because there might be a modification. We're waiting for traffic and we're waiting for. Okay. E-blast on Friday will be the first look at the May calendar, so anybody who.
Is that actually achievable? I mean, I just want to make it like, I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I'm just saying, is that achievable? Or, because there's a lot of moving pieces on that, so should we just aim for, or do we need to because of how the month falls? I just want us to all be realistic because it also pulls other people's time.
So.
Like, will we be able to get the split?
I'll give you the
time?
split.
But-
Friday morning for me.
Right, the split
Okay.
is out, because the deadline has now passed.
Okay,
Well,
And once we get that back, I don't know if Florence says, it's probably too early to give you the split for street activities because more things will file between now and, a week from now.
I can look at it Friday though, if you want.
Okay, let's do that.
I mean, is our process not to put things on until we think it's complete? I'm just curious about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And the chair already covered the application process, the reapplication process. And I, again, grateful for the cooperation of the Manhattan Borough President's staff on all things that relate to our work here. If there are questions, that's my report.
Great, and I will just hop in and say that just as a good governance practices, a complaint, the board office, the board chair, the district manager are the clearinghouse for complaints recognized by this board. So that's just good governance practice. Those are our procedures. So just going to mention that.
And then circling back to just a second on the calendar, it really does make sense to try to get that out on Friday, even if it ends up being quite late in the evening. The reason is that we need the split on Friday so I can get the flyers together for the guy who hangs them early the following week. Make sure that all.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure.
Split on Friday.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay.
Anything change?
No.
No, okay.
Great. So now we'll go to review the draft of the May calendar. This is March on the agenda. Any changes there? I think we should also look at June and July just briefly, since you will have an abbreviated meeting next month. Donna, did the July get resolved?
I really need to change it to meet on the 8th instead of the 9th for SLA 2, but I don't know that we have a location, so I will try to, it's 2 months ahead. We'll see what comes in. Mark is working on it. If I have to, I'll try to buffer more to SLA 1. I may reach out to you to see if we could meet at 6, but it's too soon to do any of that. And I need to also reach out to the committee and let them know.
Okay.
And there are a couple of, if we do truncate that agenda a little bit, then it opens up other.
I mean, I'll also, I don't put speaking limits on people. I can put speaking limits on people. We can do what we need to do unless there's like some disaster.
And there's an outside chance that the church might someday be back our friend, so.
I hope it's someday, but I'm
You
not
always
keeping my
know.
fingers crossed.
I'm a
July.
And we're aiming for the last full week in June because that'll have been after our May training, that we'll have to have Project Renewal come in and speak about the shelter on West 11th. So we are going to work on a date there. Emma has volunteered to facilitate that for us of the joint
Looking at that week, if I may
Yes.
interrupt, we actually don't have a date for traffic and transportation in June, and the reason is that it would ordinarily fall on the 23rd.
Mhm.
And the 23rd might be a busy day for the chair of that committee.
Well, I don't like having meetings anyway. It's on election day.
Well, we wouldn't have it on that day.
Yeah.
Right, so, so it could be the 24th, it could be another date of your choice. I assume. the
Let me
22nd.
check with the committee. I'm going to suggest the 25th or the 30th, just if people are free on Tuesdays, that might be easier. But I can just check with the
And that's
committee.
perfectly fine. I
Yeah.
just want to highlight that because
Yeah.
it wasn't on the draft.
Yeah.
Right.
Valerie,
Yes,
I have something for June if this is the right moment.
sure.
If we could have the Monday after our regular Thursday meeting, we have a return of the building at the corner of Broadway and Canal Street, and it's a full-blown addition. It's not a replacement, but it's a full building.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So with that, let's move on to reports. So we'll just go in the order here. So street activities.
So we had a regular update last month, or earlier this month, I should say, from CAPO and CCM, just to give us an update on recent developments. Let me read out just a few of the key takeaways for folks. So our district CB2, we had 558 events approved by CAPO last year. 53% were street events, 29% production, the rest is split of plaza and others. As was already well known, like the vast majority, like basically 90% plus of street events are commercial events. CAPO, as a reminder, does not discriminate based on commercial versus non-commercial events. We talked about the current prices for various street events, and we talked about the lag time as well, i.e. the amount of time in advance that these applications have to be filed, which have been kind of sticking points for a long time. They basically said, if the same effective prices for events have been in place since 2007, they haven't changed since 2007. And they said it would, you have to have essentially like mayoral buy-in and go through like a pretty detailed process if you ever wanted to change those. Same with the lead-in times to events. So it doesn't seem like there's a near-term solution to the fact that some events are only 2 weeks ahead of time.
Is that administrative law or is that in the charter?
They said it's in the rules.
Okay,
so,
great. Administrative.
So, we've been starting to think more about whether we just need to have a more standardized set of effect, basically what we're looking for in every other certain type of event, like food truck events, stuff like that, just so we can have it on record and sort of have these guidelines for events that we can't review in time. So we're continuing to think through that. What else was I going to say? We've had questions for a while about effectively where the revenue from these events goes. The best answer that they were able to give us is it varies from event to event, and it's effectively split by the various agencies that take part in that event. So it's depending on the type of event and how how much of an impact it has, it could be allocated amongst NYPD, DSNY, DOB, and other agencies. So they couldn't there's no like straightforward schedule of who gets what. I think those are the main kind of new thing, maybe some new information there. Other than that, we continue to talk to them about the issues we have with enforcement. Basically, the answer is if there's no actual SAPO application, then SAPO is not really involved. So this is for like totally unpermitted events. Basically has to be NYPD effectively shutting it down. If there is a permanent event that's like a small event that they apply for that ends up being a massive event, then they can go back after the fact, and they've done this in the past and charge them for the price of the higher for the larger event. So they can do that. Those are the main points. So we continue to stay in good contact with them. They give us regular updates. I think other than that, it was a pretty standard month. We do have coming up next month a presentation from DEP about the noise code. So that should be interesting. We haven't had them at one of our meetings before, for my committee at least. And then the month after that, I think we're going to do to try to get an earlier start on talking about San Gennaro than in past years. So our schedule is really filling up for the next couple months.
And could you come up here because we're going to get questions.
The 9th Precinct Community Affairs is very on top of events, and I've talked to them as you know about different things. They're very responsive and happy to engage. They are try to be a step ahead. I don't know if the other precincts is that engaged, but they really are very good about allocating their resources when they think there's going to be a problem in order for it not to spill out into a bigger issue. Are the other precincts engaging like that, or do they just leave them alone, or how does that?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer. I mean, so far, I think I found that whenever we're able to flag that we think something is a safety issue, like they are on top of it. We probably should establish more of a direct connection with like the right people at each precinct.
Because I think they appreciate the heads up, because they never want to
because right now it's
be
just
caught off guard. because they'll drop barriers in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Contain people, they don't want people spilling out in the streets, they don't want anybody getting hurt, they don't want an
Yeah.
uncontrolled situation, because I think they're very sensitive to the viral aspect.
Yeah.
Some of the pop-ups, so I know.
Because right now our process is like, we'll put it in the system, right? And we flag after our meeting to SAPO and we put it all in there, and then they're looping in NYPD and who else needs to be looped in. Like, we're not like emailing NYPD after our meeting saying, oh, you need to look out for this one. But maybe we should think in certain cases about having more direct line.
Yeah, because I think they're happy to know, they'll do whatever they choose to do, but the information is always good.
Yeah.
For them.
I just add that whenever there's a site visit on those things, NYPD is always there. Whichever precinct it is, they're always there. Yeah.
And then for the DEP, are they presenting something formally? And can we get that linked on the website ahead of time?
I'm not sure. Do you know if they're gonna have a presentation? Like an
Or
actual slide?
what I'm asking here is, how are you guiding them, so that they can either pull stats or they have information, so that way it's not just, hey, here's a list of questions, or is the committee sending questions ahead of time, just so that it's, they have something to answer to, but also if they have new information, you want them to, that's mostly what I'm asking.
I think what I was hoping for is sort of just a general overview of the noise code, because I'm not familiar with it. I think it started with this, like, we reached out to them originally because they put out this app, if you remember. But, as it turns out, I realized I don't personally know that much about how the noise code works and like what the different rules are. So I was hoping more for just a general overview. I don't have a question list at this point.
Okay, so if you could just work with Mark to make sure that that's communicated to our agency rep at DEP, so that they know what the committee's expecting, so that they don't just kind of show up and they're like, okay, I'm here for questions. So it's just high value. Okay.
Not to volunteer, Donna, but we have some information that we received from some of the sound engineers about that has a very good write-up on the New York City noise code and what's enforceable and what's not, from Al stuff.
Oh, from Al stuff, yeah.
Which is a great way to start, because he puts it into.
Yeah, I can share, I can.
Context of it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Related stuff, just to see how that.
Yeah.
Because he not only works with businesses, he's also represented in court and other things, the residents and other groups, so it's a pretty good.
Yeah.
He's one of the few people that has actually testified and pursued issues on this.
Okay.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I'll send it to Al Firestein, Acoustalog.
Okay.
Yeah, and this committee, is very important. It's sometimes the only point of contact for the community to have a voice on events that are happening in their neighborhood. So it's a healthy, robust agenda for a reason. So just making sure that that's clear. All right. Thank you so much. And then Donna, and then we'll go to Rich.
SLA, I don't think we really had anything outstanding other than it was a busy month. So there's going to be 15 resolutions, I think, for SLA 1 and 10 for SLA 2. That doesn't include the layovers and withdrawals. It's probably about 40 items altogether. And I think that's it.
Great, thank you. Rich, if you're not.
Was a fine baby. There's no big issues. The resolution was an easy a problem.
Great, and next month. Great, thank you. And next month, they will be having the discussion about the gate, so we'll connect with you on that exact language. Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks, Rich. Cannabis? No report. Okay. No report from cannabis. And outdoor dining working group continues to receive a trickle of applications. Next, we have land use. Do we have Eugene or Katie on?
Hi, it's Katie.
Hi.
My camera isn't connecting. I just found out from Eugene that he's not able to attend tonight. We have a two-part draft for landmarks. The first is a report of
For land use. For land use.
land use, sorry, land use and
Yeah.
housing. First is a report which just consists of questions that we have about proposed development on Green Street. And the second is a resolution on 51 Little West 12th Street, which is going to be heard for the third time for the Board of Standards and Appeals.
But it's a new application number, correct?
I don't think it's a new application number for 51 Little West 12th. No.
Mark,
Yeah,
wasn't that a new application number?
I'm not clear. on
Okay.
that particular.
Okay, thanks.
Right. No, the Board of Standards and Appeals has called them back twice now. This will be the third time that's going to be heard because the board is finding deficiencies in what they're reporting. So we're just enlarging on some of our comments from before, reiterating our stated position. We are not changing our position on the application. We're denying it, but we have some new information on the finding number 2, rate of return, finding number 3, neighborhood character, and finding number 5, minimum variance. There are 5 findings in a Board of Standards and Appeals application, and we had some additional comments on 3 of them.
Okay, so you're updating the board's position. That's why we're going to vote on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Amplifying. Yes, and amplifying.
Okay. Thank you. And then what is the May agenda?
I believe, and Mark may have, we had reached out to someone. I don't know if there was anything happening on May yet, Mark, but Arturo is asking to make a presentation, sort of a thought piece. So I'm going to be talking with him tomorrow a little bit more about it.
A thought piece on what?
On how, the loss of housing that we are experiencing in CB2. So I'm going to hear more from him about it tomorrow, but we've decided that we're not going to meet with that particular developer on West 10th Street on May, right, Mark? Seemed too preliminary.
On West 10th Street, I'm sorry, which one?
The old Pete's Backyard.
No.
Yeah.
I understood you to say that wasn't going to be going forward at this time anyway.
Right. It's too preliminary. They had approached us, an applicant had approached us, but we've concluded it's too early in their process. They don't have an application yet. They're just, I don't know. They're just, it's making some preliminary ideas. And it's not ripe for the community board.
Right, there's no application that's actually been filed yet, and I understood you to say that, in effect, this would be a mistake to get into the business of previewing and advising on applications that haven't even been filed yet.
Yeah, we don't know what's really in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we won't put the meeting on the calendar until we have an agenda item. So I would like to speak with you and Eugene more about that.
Sure.
It's very loose. Okay. And then while I have you, Katie, there is a rally for 5 West 13th Street on Thursday. And I just don't know if we're, since we did write, there is a resolution from January that's in the spirit of that, but it's not directly to that project. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm not planning to go to the rally, but George Janes, who filed the application with the DOB, the challenge with the DOB, he has in his papers and I was going to send it to you because I just found it tonight. He is talking about a meeting in maybe June 2024, where we were talking about the city of Yes more generally, but we were pointing to this building, which was on the horizon as an example. And John Mangan, who I don't know if he's still with city planning or not, but he opined on this. And so I'll send you the language later. I just caught up with it. So we're sort of in the midst of it because it's been, even though we didn't have a resolution at the time, but we had a report from city planning, which seems to negate the decision that DOB or oppose this decision that DOB recently sent down.
Thank you for that context.
Yeah.
Great. Landmarks?
Yes, our exciting news is from the commission today.
Yes, please report.
There was a hearing on 137, I believe it is, Thompson Street. You'll remember it from a meeting or so ago when the request is to demolish a tenement building and rebuild it. And they gave the same presentation, and shockingly few people gave testimony. I believe it was a confusion because it was the second time it was heard, but the first time for testimony, and it just didn't register that it was what would normally be a first meeting. In any case, they gave extensive engineering report about that the building couldn't possibly be saved. And then the engineer from the commission just excoriated them. It was beyond just correcting fact. And the commission was essentially, they don't feel that the building needs to be torn down and that this is entirely a ploy. A good deal was said, including out of my mouth, about demolition by neglect. And they reached no decision today because it's the thing that the staff and the commissioners all discussed before the next meeting. So the next time it comes by, we feel certain that it will be denied for demolition and that they must, in fact, they were asked to come up with a plan of how to save it along the lines that recommended by their own, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but he's not a staff person, but he's a regular engineer with whom they consult.
Great. And just so that's 139 Thompson, just because I was hearing about it today. So thank you, Chenault.
Oh, and we have in our this month we have one very big building. It is the triangular building at 9th Avenue in the Meatpacking District, and it's interestingly it parallels a great deal that was said about the Thompson Street building, that they want it to be an old building and not a reproduction of an old building. And this one that comes before us now is in the resolution, I just said something about it needs to maintain its gritty feeling. And the proposal is we don't deal with use, but the use is one of the most stylish private clubs in London. And they're in Berkeley Square in an old mansion house. And they're somehow trying to create that feeling on top of this building in the Meatpacking District. And it's really not working. And there's an extensive resolution that I recommend you reading.
Thank you. Right. And then traffic and transportation.
Oh, sorry. focused on traffic and transportation stuff. We had one main focus, which was the redesign of the bike facility changes at Lafayette Street and 4th Avenue. They also introduced changes at 8th Street and West 13th Street. And if you remember, about a year ago, March of 25, our committee and the board unanimously passed a resolution to add a two-way bike lane from Prince Street up to Astor Place. And this plan actually is conjunction with connecting the bike lanes. There's more stuff happening from the Brooklyn Bridge all the way up past Union Square. And there was a lot of new ideas, and we, basically had no consensus. The DOT is coming back and presenting again to us next week. And we'll have a short resolution, which is really just a summary of what we learned and with lots of questions that we have, but it's very basic. And there's a lot of opposition north of us, between Astor Place and 14th Street, which is new to the community. We heard no opposition last year. So we're going to be having our meeting at Grace Church next week, but I guess we will keep the start time at 6:30. We have two short agenda items, and we're getting a preview on the first one tomorrow, so hopefully short. It's some changes to Clarkson Street and Bike City as school. Then we have our open streets, which are all the same one. There's a few that have fallen off the list, but all the ones that are on our list this year were here last year. And then we have the Lafayette 4th Avenue redesign, and then we're going to have the bid present plans on 7th Avenue just in their area as an initial focus. So we've got a very packed meeting. Any questions?
Wonderful.
So there's opposition to making it two-way north of Astor Place?
I think there's a lot more things changing because it was presented as bike changes, and they're changing the traffic lanes. They're reducing traffic lanes. They're adding an amenity strip. They're adding turn lanes, which, right now when you have two traffic lanes and somebody wants to turn left, usually left, but also right, that backs up traffic. So they're getting rid of traffic lanes, but adding turn lanes. So it's sort of, I think it will help because, I hate getting stuck behind someone who's turning left and you're just there forever and ever and ever. And they're adding an amenity strip. We've asked, they give us like a sort of a street level version, but we've asked for picture. I think this may be the first amenity strip in the city, which is, and by amenity, don't confuse it with what they call the amenity zone in SLA. So I'm hoping maybe they come up with a better name, but it's basically where deliveristas would park their bikes instead of having them on the sidewalk or in the bike lane. So it would be a bike parking spot, especially with Wegmans and a lot of delivery stuff. It would be for trash containerization, potentially some greenery. It might be broken up. It might be, there'll be some concrete islands at the intersections. There's like 6 or 7 being added, and in between it'll be the same level. But there's a lot of firsts here, which is exciting. But I think there's a lot of, change is hard.
Just so you know, I think that many of the buildings in NoHo and the southern part are gonna write in objecting to the single traffic.
Yeah, but I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah,
And
but no, we didn't post anything. Nobody knows about the plan because it was never presented as making a single plan on any agenda anywhere. It was just foisted on the board by DOT at the meeting.
Well, no, we got the, no, it was.
Saying it wasn't listed as making Lafayette a single lane of traffic.
Just a
And
street
everybody
design.
who lives on Lafayette that I've talked to thinks it's insane to reduce the major northbound road to one lane
Proposed changes.
because there's so many truck deliveries and everything else that occur there. And even nobody, I think, who supported a two-way bike lane thought that the consequence of reducing traffic lane to one lane as a result of that, they never linked that together. So
They aren't linked. The bike lane is only getting 5 or 6 feet bigger, so
Right, but it was never put on our agenda that they wanted to narrow it down. So how can anybody come out if they don't know?
No, we didn't know either. So, but Mark, you know what, let me look at it and I'll get you more specific language before it goes out tomorrow. But we're gonna have it at Grace Church because, which is great because we didn't want to have it somewhere inconvenient. So we'll be right there on Lafayette.
Great.
So, should be a very interesting meeting.
Okay.
And we are gonna, I just say, we are gonna put in the agenda that we're limiting comments to 1 minute.
Great.
And Frank, that'll give people time. They should be able to say what they want to say. What?
Yeah, they can rehearse and.
Exactly. And be prepared.
And then for May, we might have Canal. We don't know.
I asked just 2 days ago and I got a it's
Okay.
the question I ask every month,
Okay.
every time I get the chance. And,
Thank you.
and I'll ask again tomorrow morning on our pre-call. For those of you who don't, so Canal Street came to the community board in November and December, and they were gonna come back in January and February and March and April, and it's May, but I'll believe it when it happens. And that's good news, because we gave a lot of suggestions of ways to make it better. So that means they're actually taking a look at it, I hope.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there any new business?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Katie. Yes.
No problem,
Yes.
no problem. I
Please go
have two
ahead.
questions for Janine, and if
Okay.
we should answer them offline, that's fine. And one is about a city bike station that was removed, and the other is about one of the open streets. Can Janine answer them now?
Sure, well,
Sure.
I don't know anything about the bike lane being removed, but why don't you tell me where it is and I'll look into it?
It was a bike station on Washington between Christopher and 10th, which was right around the corner from the one in front of VCS. And all of a sudden, 30 bikes disappeared in the last 10 days. They were totally snowed under. No one ever, dug them out. It was actually disgusting and dirty for weeks after the snowstorm. So, but it's mysterious, and I don't know if you know anything about how they make these decisions.
Well, they just make them and we find out about them. So I'm happy to ask.
Okay, well, there's one to ask about then. It's Washington between Christopher and 10th. And the other one is, I'm not very happy with the open streets on Christopher between Waverly and 7th, because that's a bus route, and it's the only bus route that goes all the way to the west side, for many of us. And it's quite challenging. The bus has to go all the way around, sometimes 14th Street, Greenwich Avenue. So I don't know how we register a complaint about an open street.
You come to the meeting.
It's tomorrow.
No, it's
No.
next week. It's next Tuesday, the 28th, and it'll be the second agenda item. So you could probably log in at 6:45 and be done by 7:15.
Okay, I'll be away, but I'll try to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Have we received letters for all these open streets that they were
Yes, we
approved?
have.
Okay. And then the CB3 one that's at the end?
We had to swap a row, right? Mark, because one of theirs was on ours and one of ours was on theirs.
That's correct.
So,
Okay, it's just listed on there.
so if you could just switch the underlying document, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they got one of ours and we got one of theirs. So
Oh, okay.
it's just
Okay,
clerical error.
great. Thank you. And is there any new business? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Good job. Very efficient.
And great, so this meeting is adjourned as of 7:25 PM. Thank you, everyone.